30 on the East Coast, 6:30 on the West Coast on a Monday. That must mean it's time for your weekly Calamity Jane livestream. James, how are you doing on this flawly executed intro evening?
Did you say Flawley?
Oh,
Flawley?
damn it. Damn it.
I
Wow.
had to do it. I had to do a double take.
Wow.
It's like, man,
Wow.
it's fun when I always encourage you to pat yourself on the back, but I can't. But I have
No,
to. You put me in a really tough spot there.
I
I was like,
really grasped failure from the mouths of success. Or what is that? I don't even know what the idiom is anymore.
it's okay. You're already on a roll with
Oh,
this, but it's okay. It's
my
totally cool.
my God. My God.
Hey,
Well,
look. I mean, look at the dad.
it was flawlessly
Yes, you just missed
executed.
a
Ugh,
few syllables.
two syllables ruined everything.
I know. Not really. It's fine. You
No.
know what? Your batting average is still.
It's like 50-50. Let's be honest with
Oh,
ourselves
come
here.
on. No, now you're just doing that self-whipping type of thing. Where,
Yeah, self-flagellation. Yeah. See,
yeah, that's
I
what.
was
Yeah,
able
see,
to
thank
pronounce
you.
that one
Yeah,
correctly.
yeah. There we go. See, got your cred back as a result. Well, after we've massaged and fixed the intro here, I'm doing just great on my side, and hopefully you're not beating yourself too much over that, and you're doing good on your side, I'm assuming.
Yeah, things are going well. Life is starting to stabilize a little bit, which is always a good thing. And just keeping the hope alive, keeping the dream alive. You know how it goes.
That's good.
Before this stream, I watched the new episode of the final season of Curb Your Enthusiasm, um, and it's a good one. It's pretty hilarious. Like one of the running story threads this season is Georgia has this really. I mean, I get the sort of strained logic that the Republicans use to justify it, but there's a law in Georgia where you can't give people anything while in line to vote, because
Yeah. So that's new. That's the new one, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
this was a recent one, and the strained rationale is that, well, you could be influencing their vote. So if like Democratic activists got out and started handing all of these on the fence voters something, in the middle while they're standing in line, well, who knows? Maybe it could sway their vote, and it's preposterous. And really, the only thing it does is it actually is, in my opinion, um, disincentivizing lower income people from voting because it gets hot as all hell
Mhm.
down here. And,
Yeah.
anyway, Curb Your Enthusiasm does an amazing job of skewering this whole thing and turning Larry into this sort of, I don't know. I mean, Larry David is never really a hero because
Yeah.
he is so
Yeah.
obnoxious ultimately, but hero in as far as anybody can be a hero in Curb Your Enthusiasm world, and it is
Yeah.
an absolute riot. Just thoroughly enjoying it this season.
Yeah. So I mean, I've watched like I think the first 3 or 4 seasons, and it's great.
Hmm.
I kind of just I think there was other stuff on, and I just kind of got distracted and didn't get back into it yet. But
Well, you got a
eventually,
long way
I
to
picked it
go
up.
now. Yeah, this is season
Yeah, I
12.
know. I know. It's like now it's daunting. It's like almost it's not really homework, but it kind of is. Like it makes me wonder. Like it feels like every season kind of builds on the other one with like certain stories or characters and like but they laid the foundation in pretty well in the first 2 3 seasons, whatever. But now, can I jump ahead? Can I actually cheat and jump ahead to another season?
I mean,
Or am I
honestly,
missing out on an inside joke?
I
You know
mean,
what I
you'll
mean?
miss out on inside jokes, of course, but the every
Yeah.
season is largely self-contained, in terms of
Mhm.
the overall narrative of the season.
Yeah.
But
So that was the only thing. But so like, I kind of want to watch the newest season because of the topics that they're more, recent stuff that they talk about. Obviously,
hmm
which you just talked about there. So now it makes me wonder if we should we I should just skip ahead and just watch the newest season and then go back and rewatch the older ones on our own time. I guess just whatever. I don't know. So yeah, but now I got the FOMO because of what you just said.
yeah,
Because the
yeah,
stuff
for
they-
sure. I hope everybody on the stream is getting okay. I'm getting a bunch of random error messages right now saying that YouTube is not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming, which is obviously false. So I don't know. Hopefully, it will solve itself here.
I
But
will say, like, as you and I were talking, it did kind of glitch a little bit on my side watching you, where it
mhm.
went static. But I heard your audio just fine, so
Okay.
I don't know. But while we're looking at that stuff, I guess I'll jump into animation land tonight, and then we'll resume more discussion about stuff.
Sounds good to me. Sounds good to me. Um,
So,
well, I don't. It's been a busy week. Nothing really to report on just yet. But things are developing on my end, and I have done, frankly, not a lot of super geeky stuff recently. At least in one week.
well, I think, um, well, there's two things. Well, I guess I'll lay. Well, first of all, I'll lay out this scene real quick,
Yeah, lay out the
and then
scene and
we'll.
let's talk about what you're going to be animating tonight.
So I've got Mitchell here yelling to the villagers, telling everybody that it's going to be okay,
Mm-hmm.
and he watches as Calamity Jane runs down the street. This is in Act Two,
Mm-hmm.
and then we have this little storyboard here, this blocking animation of her
Wait,
driving,
that's not
walking, running
final
down the
art?
street. That's not final, but it is. It does do the job for us. But yeah, so I'm working on this tonight. So I'll be going back into um his library of stuff that we have. But this also brings up another question.
Mm-hmm.
I think we've talked about this a while back on Mitchell, but you see the discrepancy, right?
Mm-hmm.
We don't have a mouth hole for him now,
Mm-hmm.
but where do we leave off on that? Because on my storyboards, he has no mouth hole, but yet in the designs he has the mouth hole.
I
So
mean, I
I
think we
guess I'm gonna
landed.
go with the mouth hole.
Yeah, I think we landed on having the mouth hole,
Yeah.
because we
Okay.
can do a little bit more, get a little bit more expression out of him that way.
True. Yes. Absolutely.
So that, I
Yeah.
believe, was where we landed on that. So that's what I'm going to stick with. And
Yeah.
if
Sounds
someone was to
good.
prove us wrong, go back into the one of the previous
One of
streams.
the many episodes. Yeah,
Yeah,
many streams. Yeah.
and
Okay.
let us
So
know.
yeah, I'll be drawing from these assets here of Mitchell, and I need to build up this library because I have a whole bunch of other assets that were built in the saloon with him too.
Mm-hmm.
So I might be kind of jumping around this Act Two, trying to grab stuff here and there, to kind of hodgepodge it and build this model for him here to do his job. Reassuring everybody that everything is safe, everything's good, and just whatever. Just go back inside and just hide from whatever
Mm-hmm.
Clown is dealing with.
Okay.
Now
Sounds good.
back to topic two. I know we were going to talk about this week. We're going to talk about Poor Things and movie stuff.
Yeah, that is true. We've got a backlog of geeky things to talk about, so that's good. That's
Yeah.
good.
So here's I'm just reminding you about that as I get doodling here. That Poor Things was, I think, top of mind, as we were kind of closing out last week a little bit. Um, yeah. And this is so I just gotta say, you recommended that movie to me to go check out, and so Ethan and I went and checked it out, and it was phenomenal.
Yeah.
It, I think we kind of touched on this last week. Like, 2023 closed out with a bang with a couple of really solid movies with Godzilla, and then that movie also was
Mm-hmm.
released in December. I think we
Mm-hmm.
checked. Man,
Yeah, I mean, Godzilla minus one was phenomenal. We have waxed intellectual about that for quite some time, and Poor Things was sort of a sleeper. Hold on, I'll be right back. So there's a
hmm
slight disturbance. Give me 1 second.
sure. While Eric does that, I will be tweaking Mitchell's paper bag cover, but I will also be based on the sketch. I've got to adjust it just a bit to help it kind of fit with the drawing. But I'm not going to be beholden to the drawing. I'm just going to be using as reference to kind of get that angle that I want.
I apologize for that.
No worries.
My roommate's dog is extremely barky, and
Oh, that's cute.
once it starts, it does not stop until someone tells her to stop. So she
it's her job.
needed someone to remind her that barking does not really help anything, given that she weighs 5 pounds and no one is intimidated by her.
Yeah.
But she is quiet now. Yes, so Poor Things came out of nowhere. It was directed by the guy who did The Lobster, I think, right? I can never... his name is so hard for me to pronounce. I'm just going to mangle it if I do. I'm looking it up real quick. And he also directed The Favorite, which is a movie that is where he met Emma Stone, actually.
Okay.
And really enjoyed her performance, really liked working with her, wanted to do it. Yorgos Lanthimos. I feel like I'm getting that correct.
That's pronounced. That's the pronunciation is Yorgos. Sorry, what was the last part?
Yorgos Lanthimos. I think he's of Greek descent.
Okay.
Yes, he was born in Athens.
Tonight's stream is all about pronunciation tonight. You are like now that you had that one at the beginning, now you're just going after all the complicated words.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I had heard of him originally from The Lobster, but he's done a couple other things. He enjoyed this book called Poor Things, and always wanted to make a movie out of it. And when he pitched it to Emma Stone after working with her on The Favorite, she was completely bought in, and they teamed up. And based on the strength of his movie Dogtooth, he spoke to the author of the novel, because it was based on a novel, and the novel, let him, gave him the rights to, or sold him the rights to make the movie, and it came out of nowhere. And if you've seen any of his movies, he's a very interesting storyteller, and Poor Things definitely continues that trend. It is a very interesting movie. How would you describe this movie, James?
I would describe, I think we were talking about this offline. Yorgos to me represents what a director with that unique vision that kind of showed up on the scene. Apparently, he's been making a lot of movies. This is my first movie that I've seen with him, so I'm assuming the rest of them are kind of like this. But Tim Burton comes to mind. Like, he's not Tim Burton, but meaning, or Wes Anderson comes to mind, where they have such a distinct eye of how they approach a film that it just stands out. It's not like a pedestrian film that just relies just on the story and it's really good. Like there's another movie out with Paul Giamatti. I can't remember the name of it.
Yeah, that's an Alexander Payne, I think, and it's called
okay.
Oh crap!
No, we should look it up too. But yeah, but I'm just making a comparison. That movie, like when you see the trailers to that movie, you know that's a standard, typical. I don't know. There's nothing in it that's going to wow you about the scenery or the cinematography. It's about the story. It's about the characters and the script. But Poor Things, it's got an incredible script, and then it's got the vision that the director has, which is kind of unique. And there's every once in a while we get, we as audience and we get lucky. We get treated to some really cool visuals with certain artists that do some incredible films, like Wes Anderson, Tim Burton comes to mind. Let's see. How about his name escapes me? Is it George Miller that does Road Warrior? And,
yeah, he did Mad Max. Yep.
And he has a signature look to his movies, like. And now we're treated to Yorgos' stuff, and it's awesome. I mean, I'm so. And the thing I like about his stuff is, where Tim Burton, I always felt like he kind of hit you over the head, but it was kind of, back in the '80s, we never really saw that before, so it was great. But then it got to a point where, okay, we get it, and the organ music playing really loud and all that stuff, we get it, kind of thing. So Yorgos, it feels like with the Yorgos thing, like you can look at the backgrounds and kind of get lost in it, but it's not central to what's going on. But like with the Wes Anderson film, for example, everything's meticulous and everything's set up right, and the colors are always arranged a certain way. Like you compete. Like it feels like, just for me, I think you're more of a Wes Anderson fan than I am.
Lately,
I like Wes Anderson. Yeah, yeah. But I think with Wes Anderson, everything's competing for my attention for me. I'm more of a, I have a little one hamster wheel going, so I want to just focus on a few things. And Yorgos' way of doing things, it just feels more like you can kind of pick and choose. It's more a la carte. It felt like to me. I loved the movie. It was great.
Yeah, I mean, it was. I guess if I had to like sum up the plot, I would say um, the story of Frankenstein told through the eyes of a young girl's sexual awakening is how
Mm-hmm.
I would describe it. It was a
Mm-hmm.
fascinating movie. Obviously, starring Emma Stone, Willem Dafoe, and Mark Ruffalo. I think were the um, three biggest performers. All of which just absolute phenomenal performances. I mean, Emma Stone in particular just owns that movie from the first frame to the last
Yeah,
frame,
yeah.
which
You could
is
tell she was invested. Yeah,
yeah. And I mean, anybody who can hold their own with Willem Dafoe, I mean, you've got to give them credit. And
yeah.
I'm not the biggest Mark Ruffalo fan, but boy, did he play a great kind of sleazy villain. And I just,
He was awesome,
he was so good in
hilarious.
this movie. And it was just, yeah, it was, Yorgos did this so much weird stuff. Like he used fisheye lenses, old
Hmm.
school irising. He
Yeah.
would go back and forth between color and black and white. Well, that's not entirely true. It was black and white in the earlier part of the films, and
Yeah,
then when she started
yeah.
coming alive, it transitioned to color. But um, he also played around with aspect ratios a lot, which is
Hmm.
something that I think I'm mostly on board with. Although I do think some filmmakers are abusing it a little bit. You don't
Okay.
realize how much an aspect ratio can affect your state of mind while watching a movie until
Mhm.
you see something like The Lighthouse, which is intentionally shot in 4:3 to make everything far more claustrophobic, right? Far more for like tight, because that entire movie is about two lighthouse watchmen trapped in a small cabin on a tiny island, right? Um,
Hmm.
and I think Yorgos does a really good job of leveraging aspect ratios without it becoming gimmicky. I mean,
Yeah.
you could argue that the entire film, the way he directs it, is a tad gimmicky, but I do think
Hmm.
that he does it with a purpose. I didn't get the
Yeah.
sense that it was frivolous with him, if you know what I mean. Um,
So here's a so
yeah,
here's a question. Have you seen his other films? Have you seen the other ones that he's like? Have you seen anything else he's
I've
done?
only seen bits and pieces of them. I've never watched any of his movies all the way
Okay.
through, but just from reputation alone, I was kind of like, oh, okay, this guy's done some really weird things. I've been meaning to go back. The Lobster has been on my watch list for God knows how long, and some movies just kind of languish on your watch list until that one day where you're sitting home, bored, looking for something to do, and then you're just scrolling mindlessly through one of the streaming apps, and you're like, oh, this movie. I've been meaning to watch this movie for a long time, and then you watch it, and then I don't know. Sometimes I'll do that, and I'll finish watching a movie and going, why did it take me so long to watch this movie? What
Hmm.
what
Hmm.
is this was one of my favorite movie ever now, and
Yeah.
but but uh, um, but yeah, no, he's always been sort of on the periphery of my awareness, and for whatever reason, I've never sat down and pursued his movies. But when I saw the trailer for Poor Things, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna like this movie because you
Hmm.
can kind of, I mean, like you and I, we've seen so many trailers. After a certain point, you kind of are like, oh, okay, I know what this is. I know, I understand what this movie is about. And you can decide pretty quickly whether you're going to like it or not. And I'm very rarely wrong at this point. And I'm not tooting my own horn. I actually think that that's more of, I don't know if that's a
Because you've
success
had
or failure of trailers, right?
yeah, you've seen enough of them where you can kind of sense the pattern of what they're doing with it, and yeah, I get
Yeah,
it.
exactly. And I think ultimately that's probably a good thing, right? Because if you watch a trailer and you're like, I don't what? Like you don't want what to be your response to watching a movie trailer. You want, oh, okay, this seems
Yeah,
interesting, or oh, that's not for me.
yeah, yeah.
Um and uh um and so yeah, I saw the trailer, thought, oh, okay, I'm gonna really like this movie, and then immediately forgot about it until a friend of mine was like, hey, I want to go see Poor Things. Do you want to go? And I'm like, oh, yeah, hell yeah, I totally forgot about that movie.
Hmm.
So, so we hopped on down to the theater and saw it and was just absolutely blown away. We were like chatting through text um, for days after it came out because it was so good, so entertaining. I'm sorry, this dog is driving me crazy. I'll be
You know
right
what's
back.
funny? Yeah, yeah. We can't. I can't hear it,
I know you can't hear it, but she's like,
but it's yeah,
and then
yeah. I
she
get
gets my dog barking too, and
it.
so
Yeah.
I'll be right back.
While Eric's doing that, I am just drawing more stuff for Mitchell Winchester. Trying to get his buttons in there for his dinner jacket.
I
Success.
apologize for the moment. I think maybe for next week, if my roommate's not around, I'll go ahead and maybe put her in her room to remove the potential stimuli. Basically, what happens is she sits in the living room and hears cars drive by, and
Mm-hmm.
that's her cue to bark. Um, it's I my dog Penny is generally speaking so quiet. Uh, Being around a very yippy dog is kind of a new phenomenon for me. It's been a
Yeah,
long
I
time
bet.
since I've been around dogs that bark a lot because Penny just doesn't really bark that much. So
No, I mean we've done this stream for a couple of years now, and I don't think Penny's barked once
no,
this whole
she
time.
could be a pain. I mean, I know we've spoken on this thread, and I've had to take breaks because she sat
Yeah,
there and
sure, but
whined and had the weird Monday night crazies. But yeah,
yeah,
the
but
barking
that's
is
yeah.
never the thing with her.
Yeah, the thing though is both those dogs are adorable. It's like
Yeah, they're both cuties. They absolutely are.
yeah, and they know
Hmm.
it. So
They both get away with
um
murder.
yeah, they totally do. Um so I'm trying to remember like what the train of thought was you were going with Poor Things and
Oh,
oh you
it
were talking about
yeah. So we
yeah
chatted
what
for days over text, my friend and I,
mhm,
about like just what it meant and all of the subtext. I mean, it was operating on so many layers
mhm,
because it wasn't just about. I mean, it was just about this young woman entering maturity, right? And her
yeah
sexuality played a huge part of it, but that wasn't the only thing that the movie talked about. It was also talking about the nature of love and the nature of family and where does
mhm,
your responsibility lie and the nature of men and women in relationships. Um,
mhm.
it was a really fascinating movie. Well done, brilliantly acted, very very
Yeah, the
interesting to
cast
watch. Yeah.
Rami Youssef, I think his last name. He
Mm-hmm.
was great. I was kind of surprised to see him in the movie, but that was pretty neat to see him get that role, I guess. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, of course, Willem Dafoe, of course, goes without you know you don't have to say anything about him. He always brings weight to any movie. As he yeah, if he's in the movie, it's worth seeing for the most part. I can't think of any bomb of a movie where Willem Dafoe's been in it. So
Yeah. No, I know. I know. He's such a phenomenal actor who does such a good job with the roles that he takes and any role that he's in he always just he seems to just give it his all. I mean, he elevates even sort of small mundane roles. I mean, I will never forget Boondock Saints blew me away. I was not expecting a performance like that from his. And say what you will, about the movie overall and the controversy surrounding the filmmaker, but Willem Dafoe's performance in it was just phenomenal.
hmm Yep.
Um,
And again, he always delivers. Like I don't know if you've seen the movie Hunter, The Hunter, where he goes
no, I haven't.
it's relatively it's semi newish. I mean, it's been out. I mean, it came out about 5, maybe 8 years ago. I can't remember
Hmm.
actually. We can look it up. We have Google, but anyways, great movie too. And he's pretty much solo actor guy in it, for the, here and there, trying to search for this rare animal.
Let me see. I'm looking it
But
up
it's kind
here.
of yeah, the hunter, I think.
Let's see.
The Hunter, 2011. Oh my gosh, yeah, time
Wow,
flies.
that was a long time ago now, which is sad to say.
Yeah, here I was thinking 5, 6 years ago. No, 2011.
Oh yeah, I
Yeah,
remember that movie. I never saw it, but I do remember it.
yeah, another good one. That's kind of obscure, like just something that's not on the radar, like where a lot of people recognize it, know him from Spider-Man One,
Hmm.
all that stuff, or these other mainstream kind of movies. But yeah, but yeah, he always does a good job. And yeah, Ruffalo, I was cracking up with Ruffalo. I think it really he showed his versatility in that movie. Because everything I've seen him in, for the most, not kind of the Marvel movies, but every other role I've seen him in, he's always serious, dramatic. But man, did he ham it up? He was
Hmm.
hilarious. Like just
Yeah,
he was
it really
almost
seemed to me that he was just really enjoying playing that
yeah,
character.
yeah. I think so. I think so
Yeah.
too. Yeah, I mean, he was borderline scene stealer for the most part because you want to know what he what he was whining about or oh yeah, is great. So yeah, I think 2023 really finished strong, and it's kind of just yeah, it's kind of crazy how we got spoiled if you're a moviegoer with
Hmm.
that and Godzilla and right there, just even two of those both those movies alone were enough for a December
I mean, yeah. I mean,
winterish break.
I'd have to go back and look it up, but I recall 2023 being a pretty good year for movies.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean we had Oppenheimer, we had Barbie. Those are the big blockbuster ones. But then we had
Hmm.
it just felt like it was scattered with some pretty decent stuff throughout.
Yeah, I mean, not just even from uh, uh, like theaters, streaming releases as well, right?
Hmm.
Wes Anderson's flick Android City, I really loved. I know that it seemed like it was somewhat divisive for some people, but I really dug it.
Oh,
Um,
really? Why was it deficit? Like, why were people split on that one?
I don't even remember. I just know that some people, the reviews were sort of like less enthusiastic
Oh,
than they
okay.
have been, and part of me feels like if people are just maybe kind of tired of the his shtick, I don't know. That's kind of the overwhelming sense
Yeah.
I got. There wasn't anything in particular about it
I
that they
mean,
disliked.
I was kind of, I mean, I'm echoing the same thing before, like with Tim Burton, like he showed up on the scene and blew everybody away with his vision, but then he kept doing it over and over and over
Mm-hmm.
again. And after a while, you kind of get, okay, we get it.
Mm-hmm.
That's my only concern with Yorgos is it going to become a shtick? Well, because right now it's fresh and new and it's cool.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
hard to gauge.
A
But
couple other ones. Let's see. The Creator came out, um, which is
did you
that.
see that movie?
Yeah, I thought it was great. I really, really thought it was great. I really enjoyed
So
it.
it's on my streaming queue, and I love sci-fi. I just don't know why I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, I think it's definitely worth a watch. It is somewhat uneven, but I think overall it was really excellent. That's right. Dungeons and Dragons came out in 2023. Wow, that's
Oh,
crazy.
another good one. Too bad.
That
Too
was
bad.
early. That was early in the year.
Yeah, yeah. It's too bad. It didn't get enough. It didn't make enough money to warrant a sequel. Supposedly, it feels like it was a disappointment for the studio. But
Yeah, yeah.
great movie.
Let's see where
I thought
else
it
did
hit all the beats for Dungeons and Dragons. For Dungeons and
actually
Dragons, yeah.
I recall. I mean, I think it actually did pretty good.
Oh
If
yeah.
memory serves. Yeah. I mean, the reviews were pretty strong. I mean, I don't. It wasn't like the studio immediately greenlit a sequel or anything like that. But I think
Mhm.
it actually overperformed, at least in
Oh,
the initial
awesome. That's
weeks.
great.
Yeah, I don't know if it had much by way of legs, but it definitely it kind of came out and surprised people a little bit.
Well, I hope so. I hope so. I know. I do hope they do a sequel with that cast. I mean, at least have the returning a few of those returning characters come back. I mean, Chris Pine was great.
Hmm.
If he headlines it, and it felt like the cast had pretty good chemistry too. And then again, it hit on all the. It felt like it was actually made by people who played D&D as well.
Yeah,
It
it
didn't feel
definitely
like it was
was.
kind of
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
speaking
That's
of
some
which,
nuances to it.
speaking of which, we're gonna get super nerdy here, but I have to tell the story because it's I think it's
Awesome.
hysterical. Um, so I'm in a D&D campaign with some friends, and
Yep.
our last session was on Friday, and it was just straight up bonkers. Um,
sounds like D&D.
yeah,
You know.
I play a barbarian. All I do is hit things. I don't have any
Hmm.
magic. There's nothing. I just hit things really hard. That is my gift to the world.
Okay.
And my character wields a big giant warhammer that he uses to hit things very hard with. And we
Nice.
were we were in a dungeon that was occupied simultaneously by a bunch of kobolds, which are these little lizard creatures,
Hmm. Yep.
and
Hmm.
goblins being controlled by some sort of a human wizard. We didn't get to see that character
Okay.
last week. So we encounter this one child kobold, or not child, but a smaller one, who is apparently the caretaker for a frost wormling that they had in the dungeon. And the wormling escaped, and we were tasked by the queen of the kobolds to recover the wormling, and Meepo, who was the who was the kobold who was supposed to care for him, had been outcast because he let the dragon escape. We asked if he could join us and lead the way. So he joined us, and it just turned into an absolute cluster. Everything went foobar
So
almost immediately.
so wait. So Meepo is a non-player character
Yeah,
run by Dion.
right. Yes, he was run by the DM,
Wow.
and he joins us temporarily, and we go into the dungeon, and we think we're just going to take out a couple of goblins who are sort of the rear guard patrol of this place, and because of several unfortunate critical failed rolls on my part especially. I mean, I rolled two nat ones. I mean, in a row, and
Okay.
which for anybody who doesn't play D and
Wow.
D, what that means is that instant fail. Like you cannot succeed. It is the worst. It
Yeah.
is instant. It is unrecoverable.
Two ones? You got two
Two
natural
ones
ones?
in a row, and
Mm.
everybody was rolling that garbage. So what turned into us
Uh,
fighting only two goblins turned into us fighting five goblins, two of which
oh my
were
gosh.
trying to escape to warn a bunch of other goblins. So we
Wow.
managed to kill these goblins, this group of goblins, but not before one of them almost makes it to this massive magical alchemy laboratory type room where there is no less than 10 goblins who are just going to absolutely murder us if we go in there. We managed to kill the goblin, but we're not sure if the murderous army of other goblins has seen us. So we drag all the corpses with us and close all of the doors behind us, trying to cover our tracks. And then we stumble into the room where the dragon is hiding.
What?
Yeah,
Just by
just
dumb luck?
well, I mean, the little kobold told us that the dragon was in there, but we were not
Okay.
expecting what
Okay.
We walked into the room and we didn't see anything, and then the
Okay.
wormling like
Okay.
jumped over the table and confronted us,
Mhm.
and um, and we tried to negotiate with it. In fact, we'd been dragging these goblin corpses with us, and so we throw all the goblins at its feet and going, "Here, we mean you no harm. Eat these goblins." And the wormling was like, I know where all these goblins are. This doesn't interest me at all. And before we can like try to de-escalate the situation, the dragon fires his frost breath at us and downs me, who has the highest HP in the entire group,
Oh,
and
that's bad sign.
yeah, and the
Ugh.
other character who is standing next to me. And this is all again going back into how badly I was rolling. So to resist the breath and half the damage I took, I had to roll a 12, and I rolled an 11. And because I rolled an 11, the attack did 100% HP damage to me.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
So one of our characters, she has like a revival spell. So she revives me back to one
Mhm.
HP, and they drag my other friend out of the room, and they they recover her through another means. And so I'm standing up there with 1 HP. Everybody else is fleeing. The dragon is about to attack, and the DM says, "What do you do?" It's my turn. I
One
grab the
HP.
yeah, I grab the kobold, and I have to roll for strength. And I'm a barbarian, so
Sure.
obviously I met the strength check. At 1 HP, grab the little kobold named Meepo, hold it up to the dragon, and said, "This is the guy that you want, isn't it?" Because I realized that this dragon wasn't like working with them; he was, enslaved by the kobolds. And Meepo was covered in cuts and scars, according to the DM. So I knew that they weren't friendly. And so I said, "Let us live, and you can have Meepo."
Oh my gosh! Wow.
So
Oh.
the worm jumps over the table and starts eating Meepo while I'm still holding him. And our DM keeps having me roll for strength to see if I can hold on to Meepo while the dragon is eating him alive.
Wow.
And half of the
Wow.
team was like, "Oh, Meepo is so cute. Oh, we should bring Meepo with us everywhere."
Oh
Then,
my gosh. And then meanwhile,
to save our skin, I actually sacrificed Meepo to this dragon. And it was so funny how the DM kept asking me to do a strength check to see if I continue to hold on to Meepo.
Wow.
So the dragon completely devours Meepo, just completely, just gone. There's nothing left of him. And I go, "Okay, I gave you what you wanted. You got to kill the little kobold that you hated. Can we are not your enemy. Can you let us live?" And the dragon is like, "Well, that's not enough. What else do you offer me?" And I was like, "Okay, well, we'll help you kill every living thing in this dungeon, and then it can be yours. All you have to do is help us find the two kids that we're looking for. That's it, right?" And so he let us rest, do a long rest in his den, so we'll recover our HP and whatnot. and and then the session ended for the night. It was
Wow.
absolutely bonkers, and I'm doing a really bad job of telling it. It's one of those things. It's like improv in a lot of ways, that it's way more
Hmm.
entertaining when you're seeing it in real time and you're invested in it. But um, it is it was so much fun, and it's moments like that where you go like, "Oh, now I get what all these nerds were talking about. Why D&D is so great."
Yeah, it is. It is.
um,
It's a blast.
mhm.
I played an offshoot of it uh, I don't remember if you remember him, but he used to be an animator over in our department, Chris, and his group of guys.
Okay.
I used to play Pathfinder with him. It was hilarious. It was a lot of fun.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
if you have the right group of people, it can be a blast.
Yeah, I mean the group that I'm playing with is it's just a sort of a random collection of the DM's friends,
Uh-huh.
and it was just people who had expressed interest in playing D&D. Most of us, if not all of us, had never played it before. I mean, I obviously
Mhm.
knew of it. I was always sort of D&D adjacent, um,
Yeah, yeah, sure.
but I had never played it before. And so we're all like really invested in having a really good time, right? No one is being flippant or sarcastic about it. We're all in it to win it.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're all really gelling, and yeah, it makes the experience that much more fun, honestly.
Yeah.
And we're adults, so we have some beers, we buy some food, we chit chat, and just make an evening of it. So it's
Hmm.
it's been really good, but um, I really recommend. I mean, I know it's easier said than done, but I really do recommend everybody at least do like a one and done kind of one night campaign with a DM, um, and sort of experience. what all these nerds are talking about, because I suspect that most people, if they're willing to honestly give it a chance, they will find themselves really enjoying it, because it is storytelling. It's 100%
Yep.
storytelling, and
Hmm.
human beings, if the one thing that they love to do more than anything else is tell stories.
Yep. Yeah. I
And
mean, we're conditioned to do that when we're children. We just
right.
want our parents to read us stories at night, and that's like a treat at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
that's why entertainment's the way it is. Why games with the narratives beat to it are fun. I don't know, same old reading books, everything. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's just something very gratifying about having some say over where the story goes. And I think, obviously, a lot of RPGs, if not most RPGs, are very, very deeply inspired by Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh yeah.
Um, and it is interesting, though, that playing actual Dungeons and Dragons, I feel like I have far more um, agency than I do in video games. Even though in video games
Uh-huh.
you're completely controlling the character,
Yeah.
you're running around. But when you're speaking to the
Yeah.
half elf in the tavern in a video game, you still
Hmm.
only have like five options to choose
Yep.
from,
Yep. Yep.
right?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
And if in actual D&D, if you've got a good DM, you can say or do anything, and the DM will improv a response to it, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
I mean, the DM will set boundaries. They set the baseline for the potential story. I mean, I've heard horror stories where people, the entire team is wiped out in the first session, But that's kind of the fault of the DM, honestly. Um, and But it is such a fascinating way to tell stories. And yeah, I really do. I really encourage everybody, even just to do like a one-off session, just to see what it's about. I think most people, if they really are being honest with themselves, will have at least a little bit of fun.
You bring up an interesting question though. Like, is it possible to do a one night D&D session? I mean, it's a lot of prep for the DM to do that. I would think.
I mean, I think so. I think,
You think it's possible?
yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, like for us, we've done 4 or 5 sessions now. I can't remember. And in that
Hmm.
time, we've had one story night and two, like one half story, half combat night, and then one full combat night, right?
Okay.
I
All
think
right.
that you could do it, you could boil it down in one evening if you did like an intro story section, and then
Hmm.
combat, and then sort of a resolution beat. I think you could do I mean, one night, it's sort of, like, I'll be honest, we play for like 5 hours every time we meet. So
Yeah. It could be a haul for
it
sure.
can be, if you're into it. So if you
Hmm.
can uh, commit 5 hours to an evening with friends, and I mean, honestly, who can't? I mean,
Yeah.
obviously, I'm generalizing, but it is not unreasonable. I've been at parties for longer than 5 hours. Um, uh, you can, I think, very successfully set up a good, like, one night uh, uh, a one night play session.
Hmm.
So
Well,
that's my 2 cents.
cool. I mean, I'm thinking about trying to do that one of these days, and try to do a D&D session with some family out here just to do it.
Hmm.
But the prep work, you need to get the boards, you got to get the book, you got to do the little pawns. I mean, you can kind of just use makeshift stuff, really use your
Hmm.
imagination if you want to. But I do want to make it kind of feel semi-authentic for a one night D&D dash. But yeah, there's no time for that now. But you always kind of think about this pie in the sky. Man, if I had a Saturday night that was free, I would like to do that.
Mm, yeah. I my RDM, actually, there is an app, and I don't remember what it's called, that is a tile-based 3D map editor, so you can build your own
Oh,
dungeons
that's
and
cool.
everything. So we actually don't have like a traditional mat or anything like that. We
Hmm.
just sit around his big giant, and he moves things around that way.
Hmm.
So it's really cool. It's super fun.
Cool.
So anyway,
Well, I think at this point, I think we should put a pin on that with the D&D story because I think that's a nice way to end our stream tonight. I think I'm at a good spot with Mitchell.
It
Something
seems
was
like part of his
exciting
seems like
animation.
part of his arm is missing on that first frame.
There's some things I got to fix.
Okay.
First of all, I think just looking at how I have him designed here, I think his head's a little too big.
Mm-hmm.
And you're right about the arm. I need to kind of I got to tweak that as well, and that's pretty easy to fix. So I'll do that right now. But yeah, there's some minor things I want to do with it, but I mean, for all intents and purposes, it's here. We have it in play now. There we go.
Cool. Very cool.
So that was fixed. That's the beauty of Animate, Adobe Animate, just working with vectors. So you push some stuff around, you can get stuff fixed. But yeah, but for the most part, this scene I would consider pretty much wrapped up. And I will go back when I do my final animation pass. I'll go and kind of tighten up the model a little bit. But for rough animation, it's getting everything that I want for this particular scene. So I think we're in good shape.
Excellent.
Let's see. I will turn off the things when you see the original. There we are. Just a couple of chicken scratchings, but yeah. Yeah, I think we're in a good spot to kind of say we are done for tonight
Excellent.
with our stream.
Well, as always, everybody, if you head on over to calamityjane.rocks, you can take you to our Patreon site. You can consider becoming a subscriber and helping us make this cartoon a reality. Otherwise, you can find us on YouTube and Facebook, which presumably you have since you're watching the stream. And also check us out on Instagram at calamityjanesalamander, where we post stuff mostly weekly and slowly fill in the void of art and give you a little bit of an inside scoop on how Calamity Jane comes to life. But we'll see you next week at the same Salamander time, same Salamander channel. Stay safe out there, everybody, and we'll talk to you soon. Good night.
Good night.